so I can monitor any comments that any of you make if you're watching live. So please do kind of make comments. As I say, we will be monitoring that, and we can come to your questions. Let's start off by talking what this is all about. So it's another Lunchtime Live, of course, talking to the people in Leeds who are doing all they can to make workplaces and businesses as sustainable as possible. I'm Peg Alexander, a Leeds-based journalist and presenter and general bod about town. Basically, I talk to other people for a living, but I've also been active around issues of climate change for over 30 years, so I love doing these conversations. Today we're looking at how it's possible for companies to become certified carbon neutral with the Yorkshire Building Society. Rob, though, you're going to give us a bit more of an introduction to these Lunchtime Live conversations.
Yeah, thanks, Peg. Yeah, and thank you, and welcome, Elliot. It'll be really good to chat to you over the next kind of 20-25 minutes. But just to give a bit more of a background, Peg said a little bit there, but we are Zero Waste Leeds, and we're looking to build a movement in the city to help Leeds become a zero waste city. And one of the projects we've been working on with an environmental charity, Hubbub, and with Leeds City Council is this Leeds by Example project, which hopefully a lot of people will know, particularly from the orange and yellow bins in the city centre. So for recycling while you're out and about. So, for coffee cups, plastic bowls, drinks cans, that kind of thing. And these conversations are basically a bit of a response to the fact that we've all been in lockdown for quite some time now. We were hoping to go and chat with a lot of businesses in the city face to face. We haven't been able to do that. So what we thought instead, we'd chat to people on here. So that's why it's really nice to be chatting with Elliot today. And I think this is probably our 10th or 11th conversation, I think. So there's been fascinating things on all sorts to do with what businesses are doing, things around, environmental sustainability, what you can do in your own personal life, and all sorts of things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, so am I. I'm really interested in that whole concept of how an organisation, a company, does become certified carbon neutral. As I say, we are monitoring stuff on YouTube. So if you want to ask any questions, you want to input into the debate, you want to join in, please do. And we'll make sure we bring that into the conversation. But Elliot, it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much. You were saying just before you went live, you've actually gone into the offices today and it's super quiet.
Yeah, unfortunately, not everybody can be here today, just obviously because of the coronavirus restrictions, and the vast majority of our staff are working from home. But just to introduce myself, my name is Elliot Kilbride. I am the environmental lead for the Yorkshire Building Society. I help to manage and coordinate our environmental agenda, which, as Peg has alluded to, includes our carbon neutrality commitment. So I also look after a lot of the local-based initiatives the society gets involved in. And I also look a bit on the external side with regards to our environmental engagement with the public.
Wow, it's a massive remit that you've got there. Let's start off by telling us about some of the things that Yorkshire Building Society have done to get this official certification as being a carbon neutral company.
So what we first had to do to become carbon neutral, we had to define what our methodology would be. So the way YBS does that is through offsetting, and we do that within a couple of developing nations. So the first project that we invest in is a country called Guatemala. In that country, 97% of their water is polluted and is not fit for human consumption. So what Yorkshire Building Society does through our carbon offset suppliers is we supply water filtration systems for local communities to use, so they then don't have to chop down local rainforest. Obviously, emissions attributed from that, and it obviously provides them clean drinking water. The second project,
offsetting the carbon that you're making and the carbon that you're using up here in Leeds and Bradford.
Correct. Yeah. So what we do is we define what our carbon footprint is for a given year. So, for example, our market-based carbon footprint was 2,202 carbon emissions equivalent.
And what's that? That's offices, staff?
Yes, that's offices. So we report on a Scope 3 methodology. So your Scope 1 is all your gas and all your fuel consumption within your office sites and some of your business travel. So your company cars, things like that. Your Scope 2 is your electricity and your electricity and the transmission and distribution emissions associated with that. Your scope 3 is everything from waste, where our colleagues, if they've got a business trip up in Scotland, that will then go into our carbon emissions. But what we do at YBS, because we do use fully 100% renewable electricity through the market-based methodology, we don't report on these. We instead also create a location-based footprint, which does account for the minor emissions which are attributed to green-based electricity. So if you go on the YBS website, you will see there's two figures, one which says 5,253 tonnes, which is the location-based, and the second figure, which is 2,202. And the second figure is what we do offset against, because we do use renewable electricity.
Right, okay, yeah. So you do that. I mean, you've got the two projects that you've got sort of around the world. The one that you were telling us about in Guatemala with water. There's also one in sub-Saharan Africa as well, isn't there?
There is, yeah. So that is a borehole restoration project that we have in 5 Central African republics. So that's Uganda, Eritrea, Rwanda, and then we also have Malawi within that. And the idea is, again, very similar to Guatemala, unfortunately, because they're not as lucky as we have to just go and put on a tap and go to the kitchen, pour a glass of water. We provide funds for them to restore boreholes. So a lot of the water, what you have within Africa, it's not like the UK where it's flowing on the surface. It's actually deep under the ground, and to get to that water, you have to go into the earth to get that, and that's what our project is.
Interesting. So as I understand, so there's the kind of offsetting kind of the element to this, but there's a lot of work you've been doing in your offices and with your staff to look at ways that you can reduce your environmental impacts kind of directly as well. Is that right? Would you mind telling us a bit about some of those practical things you've done in your offices as well?
Yeah, certainly. So I just want to say is in that we don't just take offsetting for granted. We are committed year on year to reducing our environmental footprint. We don't think offsetting's a be on to end all. We have much more to do in this space. So, for example, last year we fitted 19 more energy efficient gas boilers throughout the branch network. All the carpet you see in our head office, so the carpet, so head office carpet isn't like underlay what you use in your homes. It comes in like little packets of tiles, similar to your bathroom. So they're from 100% recycled materials. Then what in our head office in Bradford, we've placed some toilets in, they're called Propel Air systems. They work very similar to aeroplane, where it's a gush of air which pushes out the waste. So we've got 19 of them, and that's estimated that saves us up to 35,000 litres of water year on year. We also, with regards to travel, we're part of the West Yorkshire Travel Network, so that allows colleagues to apply for Metro cards, but it's absolutely fantastic. So instead of taking out a season ticket loan from, I don't know, First, Bus or Arriva, you can instead get monthly reductions in your salary. So there's no lump fee. So for example, I have one and it cost me £82 a month rather than buying every single day, and I was spending about £122 at one point a month. So I've saved by doing that through the business.
Yeah, that's good.
A bank to work scheme, where colleagues are eligible to get a £1,000 interest-free loan to purchase a bike of their choosing in order to get to work. And again, that's made through salary reductions. Then again, in 2019, within our catering space, we removed 700,000 items of single-use plastic. So that's everything from your little tomato sauce sachets, forks, and we've tried as very best to make it policy. If you want to, if it's not a packed lunch, you have to physically get a dinner plate and eat in the canteen with everybody, which is nice, obviously, for the social and for that atmosphere as well. It does stop people taking out plastic boxes, with your bacon sandwich, whatever. You have to sit there and eat it on a
That's an interesting point, though, isn't it? That sometimes these things can have secondary positive benefits, can't they? Maybe that's one of the ways that we need to kind of almost like sell these ideas to people sometimes.
Well, what we try to focus on is YBS is building that community culture, in that anybody can talk to anybody. It doesn't matter what level you are within the business. Everybody's open for a chat and open to positive engagement. And I think try to do that is try to make everybody sit down together during dinner, whether that's within your teams or, for example, I've gone down there with this new policy last year, and I've ended up sitting with people I wouldn't usually speak to within the business because we don't cross before. So it is a really good effective way where you can get people to engage who otherwise wouldn't in everyday conversation, which is nice. You spread the good environmental message as well.
That's good.
I like to say within our catering, we do recycle all our cooking oil as well, which does get recycled into biofuel. So that 100% every single year, which is another great thing that we do within.
Very good.
So let me ask you on that then. How much of the ordinary staff, workers at the Building Society from those conversations and what you can overhear other people, have they kind of taken to it, or have they been resistant, or has everybody sort of welcomed it as a bit of a win-win? Or
yeah, what I found, it's positive engagement through all out, but I think when you speak about climate change in the environment, what I think is its greatest attribute is that you don't need a PhD, you don't need a master's degree to be good at it, to understand the fundamentals and to get enthusiastic. It's not financial accounting or quantum computing. At its fundamentals, it's a subject that no matter your skill set or education, you can easily grasp, and it's everybody can get behind on a community level and also within the workplace. So yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive, but within that, you've obviously got different views. You've got some people who don't want to go as fast as others, some people who want to go to the nth degree, and it's just finding that right balance in that. Conversation will eventually go to where you want it to go. You've just got to carry people in the correct way and not to demonize people if they're not putting stuff in the wrong bin. It's just all about gentle education. What I find is the key to our success, and also within the wider community. I think you just have to look at the conversations around gender equality and diversity and the way that's come in the past 40 years. It's been done. I think the environment going forward with climate change will follow that path and expand upon that absolutely amazing, fantastic work. And that's what I emulate at YBS, just to encourage that. And eventually, I think you get that collective ethos that, it's the right thing to do now, which I think we're slowly coming around to.
That's good. I mean, that's interesting because sorry, Peg.
Sorry, Rob, off you go. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that there's some interesting parallels there with some of the other work we've done, like with Leeds by example in the bins, in that you almost need the two elements, don't you? That you can put in the right infrastructure. You can, whether that is kind of better, kind of more efficient toilets or whatever it might be, but you've also got to work with people to almost like win hearts and minds, haven't you? To whether that is practically work, tell them how the new equipment is working, or engage with them about why you're suddenly removing plastic plates from the canteen. And I think those two elements kind of need to, it sounds like you see as well, that those two elements need to go side and side, engaging people and putting in the physical changes.
Yeah, so a good example for that with us, it's not directly environmental related, but we used to have a Costa coffee within our catering within the Bradford head office, but we took a collected vote for the people who worked there that we want to replace Costa with a more environmentally friendly and sustainable focused organisation. So we went with a company called Grumpy Mule, but we did blind sessions and right weird actually. It's like if you just get an unbranded Diet Coke or actual Coca-Cola, looking at it, think, Coca-Cola's miles better because it's got the brand. Usually on the taste test, nobody can tell the difference, or they prefer the cheaper one. So that's what. True. And then from that, we then changed our coffee supply to something which we found was a bit more akin to our mission.
And that's interesting, actually, if everybody kind of decided on that as well. It wasn't just a management decision. Talking of that, I mean, how about with the board and stuff? How talk to us about the process of, because obviously Yorkshire Building Society, I mean, it is a building society, so it's an organisation. It's not just a financial organisation. It's an organisation that kind of came out of ethos and values and things. But also, talk to us a bit about the kind of the conversations that they had, because obviously this must cost some money. So there's got to be some decisions made at the company that this is a priority and this is what you're going to do.
Yeah, so when I've spoke to our SLT on carbon neutrality and also the environmental agenda, we are wholeheartedly committed to achieving our mission, which is real help with real life. Our worldview as an organisation, which is echoed by our Chief Financial Officer and our Chief Operational Officer, is that we are committed to delivering on issues which really mattered, not just to our high-level investors, but also to our colleagues, our members, because at the end of the day, it's our members and colleagues which keep us going. And they've shown that they really care about this. So it's up to me and my job, and then the people I work with, to deliver exactly what they want.
Yeah, I mean, what would there be arguments you'd kind of say to anyone else, who any other companies who are thinking about this and thinking, oh, but it's too expensive, you know, too difficult?
Well, what I would say is there's plenty of options around carbon neutrality. There's different avenues for other companies to pursue, whether you're big or small. There's other options such as science-based target setting, which is a public commitment to reduce your emissions year on year. But with that, you've got to have the capex, like the capex budget and the infrastructure in place to ensure you can meet that target.
Right, that's the capital expenditure, is it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So for example, at YBS, we do a capex plan for the next year, which will detail what we want to achieve. Yeah, but that'll involve everything from swapping out boilers, double glazed windows, then the environmental stuff as well. There's so many avenues. What I would advise, the first step for any organisation before they embark on this is just to get to grips with what your environmental impacts are. I think people really appreciate that you're open and honest and transparent. This is why we pushed for scope 3, that we know we still have to work on supply chain, but we know 95% of what our emissions are. We understand our impacts on local communities, and from that, it's given us a platform, to be able to speak about it. So what I would say to any company, before you go down this route, if you find it viable, is to firstly define what type of carbon neutrality you want to go down, what type of projects is the company interested in, what I would say is actually more important, what's more akin to your customers' wants and needs, because they keep the business. And then from that, just plot it, just go through the methodology. There's plenty of websites online on how to do it. So for example, yes, we follow the greenhouse gas protocol and the TCFD reporting requirements, but there's different metrics for different levels of users. So we naturally use a system which is more akin to financial services. And then also the UK government, every single year, they publish, they're called the ICE emission factors. And it basically gives everybody a metric from which to calculate their carbon footprint. And it's absolutely fantastic. So it's simply a case of saying, I don't know, your waste could be 5,000 tonnes a year. You times that 5,000 tonnes by the government metric, and you've got your answer to how many tonnes of carbon you've emitted.
Right. So there's support out there to help you work out.
100%.
I mean, I think that's a really interesting point, and because we're getting increasing numbers of mainly smaller businesses kind of approaching us saying, where do we begin with this? You know, and I think what you're saying there is important, isn't it? To kind of do some reflection, to think for our particular business, what impact are we having? And as you say, as you know, for the size of your business and what you do, there will be particular kind of things. If you are running a design agency or a food business or whatever, it's going to be slightly different. But trying to work out what those things are to then come up with a plan for reducing the impacts.
If it was me and I was walking into a business which hasn't done their carbon footprint before, I would advise their leadership look at scope 1 and scope 2 first, which is simply your gas bills and your electricity bills. So for example, scope 1, it's your invoice from British Gas. So when you get your invoice, whether you're a local business, for example, my dad's a plumber. So when he gets his bill, just tells you exactly what the consumption is, and this is what you're paying. There you fix, and that's what you do for the next 12 months. You've used 100 kilograms. And that's it. Same for electric as well. So start there, and then obviously do your water. Focus on your utilities, and then go down from there and break it down. And that, I'm probably
that sounds like a good starting point, definitely. And we'll do it on the back of this today. We'll do a bit more research to find some of those things that you mentioned. And if you can send a few of them, that would be great. Anything that's available online for other people to make a start on this, that'd be good.
Yeah, more than willing.
Let me ask you about whether some of your principles as a building society then make their way into the financial products that you sell. So, you know, if I come to you for a mortgage, if I'm saying I want to try and create as carbon neutral as possible a house, or I want to do my house up, or I want to, does that help me? You know, do your policies mean that you're more likely to give me financial help for that, or does it not kind of impact into the products?
Firstly, I just want to start by saying I'm not really involved in the products team.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
What I will say is that we are hoping to look into that. We've not currently got something at the minute allow us to lend on that basis alone. We do have already established built-in metrics, but it is something that society is open to. And if there is a business case there, we will look to develop that going forward. But sorry, I can't give more detail.
No, that's interesting. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're quite well served in Yorkshire, really. I mean, obviously, Ecology Building Society, you know, kind of quite a bit smaller than you, but just down the road, you know, a very kind of, you know, been looking at this for quite some time, haven't they? And I think it's interesting to see how you know, particularly the kind of the you know, wider mutual sector is starting to look at this. Could I expand that question a little bit to asking about, do you get much feedback from, you know, members and customers that this matters as much to them? You've mentioned about staff saying that it matters more to them. Are you hearing from customers that they're caring more about this stuff?
Yeah, so through my contacts team within so I have a quarterly review a quarterly review with the branch with a couple of the regional managers. It's through our Health, Safety and Environment Forum, and they do feedback our members and customers, prospective members, are asking questions on the environment and what we do. So what we've tried to do over the past year or so is to put more information on our website to address that. It is something I feel we have something to work on within this area to speak about the good stuff we're doing, because I think now when you look at, if you're getting a mortgage, I don't know, from Nationwide, NatWest, or a big bank, rates are rubbish at the minute. There's nothing, if we're being honest, there's nothing to distinguish yourself. So from me as a potential customer, I really value what they're doing on equality, diversity, and the other issues which matter to everybody, which touch everyday lives. And I think this Yorkshire Building Society is really good placed, and other mutuals as well, to go into the market with that angle.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I think I think you're right there about particularly it's not just kind of younger customers, but I think you've got generations of customers coming through who are much more interested in that broader stuff, as you say, about whether, you know, not just environmental stuff, but about kind of diversity in a range of different ways. People are probably asking questions in a way that wasn't the normal thing that you did 20 years ago.
And at YBS, our mission is to provide real help with real life, and that isn't just about approving your mortgage, giving you a new savings account. It steps into also, how do you manage your money? We send out monthly newsletters. How do you look at debt? We did do a newsletter on how do you become more environmentally friendly, but it was more on the same, you know, saving money, deal with your energy bills, things like that. So what is at YBS is that the environment and financials are intrinsically linked. You can't have financial sustainability without environmental sustainability, and vice versa. The underpin our whole way of living at this moment in time, and the environment further will impact a lot more on that going forward. So it's important as an organisation with money, because obviously it does make the world go round, that you're also able to provide advice and education on the things that really do matter. And we do get a lot of questions from members around what we are doing.
No, it's good to hear that more people are interested in this stuff, and we see the same, really. So that's good.
Yeah, and it's a good message, isn't it, to go out to other places. This is something that actually helps your business. It's not just a kind of do because it's a good thing to do. It can actually help your business as well.
Well, I also like to see ourselves as YBS. You probably guessed by my accent, but I am Northern. Leeds, born and bred and proud. But we are full Northern Yorkshire folk. We do his job because we know it's the correct thing to do. We don't go out and gloat about it or to try greenwash or to do it. We just do the job, and we feel like we like to be recognised just for, they're doing a good job kind of thing. Oh, good. And that's the way we position ourselves, and that is our ethos, really. To just go in, crack on, do your job, and do what's right for the business.
I think they should take what you just said as a new slogan. We do his job because it's the right thing to do, because we know it's right. We do his job because we know it's right. That's proper Leeds, that is, and we like things that are proper Leeds on this channel.
Yeah. Very good.
Cool. Well, listen, keep up the amazing work. I think it's just really good. The things that I picked up from this, Rob, tell me if you know some of the stuff. Yeah, you do it because it's the right thing to do. You do it as well because it's right for your customers and your members. You do it because it's helping to think about where the business is going in the future. You can start relatively small, looking at your gas and electricity bills, but then expand it out. And that you don't have to have all the solutions yourself, because there's options like carbon offsetting. And that there's help and support out there to get the advice to help you to do things, even if, as I say, you're starting off quite small and moving up. That's some of the things I picked up from this.
Yeah, and can I also just add to that, if there's any local business listening and they would like advice somewhere to go, you're more than free to give my work email out and invite them to get in.
Fantastic, yeah. No, I mean, we really appreciate that, and obviously that is the Leeds by example, as you'll have probably picked up. The idea of that kind of hashtag is about people who are leading by example, and hopefully building this kind of movement behind that, where people can learn from each other. Do you know what I mean? And not every business will be as big as yours, but I think a lot of the principles that you've talked about are things that we can, those of us who run big businesses can learn directly from. Others, that there's still plenty to kind of learn there. So no, I mean, thank you for that. I mean, that kind of support is really important. And I think, I just to echo what Peg said, really, I think the thing I take from this is that thing about making a start with it. Do you know what I mean? And I think what you said there about looking at, you're not going to sort everything straight away, but if you do look at a few different things, even if it is just looking at your energy, the water you talked about, travel is obviously a big one, isn't it? I mean, I remember we were chatting to a business just before lockdown, and we were saying, or could you, do you really need to be traveling to all your meetings? And it sounded like the most ridiculous kind of thing to be challenging people on, And now I suppose the challenge is about, I mean, let's hope we get through this relatively quickly. The next challenge will be, how do we not go back to exactly how we worked before? You know what I mean? So we just go and travel to all our meetings. If there's a chance to do stuff like this, and it's appropriate and the right thing to do, let's do it.
What I would say as well, when it just touched on that point, is that we also have to take into account people's social needs as well. So people, I know when I spoke to a lot of colleagues, they really do miss coming into the office. And
no, true. Yeah.
So it's getting a balanced answer and what suits everybody. I know it's very difficult, isn't it, to please everybody, but probably to move into a more flexible working approach.
I think so.
Colleagues a choice of what suits them and their families best, I think, is probably the best way to go. And that's something.
And I think you're right. I think that's, this has been an extreme situation in all sorts of ways for us, hasn't it? That there'll be hopefully a kind of balance we can get to in the longer term, but not forgetting some of the stuff that has been, kind of valuable to us.
Yeah.
So, very good. Is there anything anything we've not chatted about that you'd like to share with us before we finish? But
there's just two things. So firstly, on the external front, for people who aren't aware, Yorkshire Building Society, we have recently just joined the Leeds Climate Commission, which
we're members too. That's good. Yeah,
which is a place where you've got other leading businesses and stakeholders in partnership with the council and leading universities, working to create a carbon roadmap for the city of Leeds, where we can hope to achieve, hopefully, to get Leeds carbon neutral by 2030. Our role within that, at this moment in time, is to look at, it's our bread and butter within the finances of that. How would that work? What can we bring to the table in terms of our expertise? And if it turns out we can't help, we're always here for the conversation. There's no commercial incentive to report on your environmental footprint. I know it is legislation in a lot of fields, but with YBS we go beyond, not because it brings us anything. It doesn't. My time doing this, it doesn't bring the company any more money. We do it because it is the correct thing, and I do feel.
No, that's good. I didn't know you joined the Climate Commission. That's really good. So
But and again, just to echo the point, if there's anyone listening who does want to talk about carbon footprints, how we do it, and I'm more than happy to have a 30-minute chat.
Right. Well, we'll share links to all the stuff that you've talked about and that you're doing at the Building Society kind of below this post. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Great.
thank
Well,
you.
brilliant. Keep up the fab work, I think. Both of you keep up the fab work.
Yeah.
You're still in the process of confirming next week's Lunchtime Lives, aren't you, Rob?
Yeah, we've got a few more planned. I mean, as you say, things are up in the air for everybody, aren't they? So there's one that may not happen next week, but there'll be 2 or 3 more before Christmas. So,
So more to come, and we're working on a symposium as well. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
And also more activity happening around the Zero Waste Fashion project, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, there's all sorts of, there's plenty of stuff. We'll put links below, but if you follow Zero Waste Leeds, there's plenty of work on the school uniform project, our Leeds Fashion Futures as well, looking at the impact of clothing that we all wear, although I think a lot of us have reduced our wardrobe in the last
I have to say, so as you know, I made a commitment this year not to buy any new clothes. Start of the year. And when the charity shops reopened, I went back out shopping, and I got this one, which I haven't been able to wear till now because it's a bit too snuggly, a bit too warm.
It's going to be chillier.
So I put this on for the first time. So all over social media, I'll be sharing which charity shop it came from and how much it is. But the best bit about this, I have to say, I think it's actually homemade. I think somebody has hand knitted this.
Impressive, yeah.
Really,
it looks really cozy.
It's so snuggly as well. So I'm snug and smug today.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. And Elliot, I notice, having gone into the office, you've gone a bit, but you've gone back a bit more traditional to the suit, to the jacket.
Well, do you know what? I'm actually going to wear a tie today, but because of COVID not doing much sexy, I can't actually time it. So,
and it means since you're in the office, you've actually had to put your trousers on today because loads of people, leggings, jogging bottoms,
We've all gone more casual, haven't we? So I suppose coming back to the point, it is we are looking back. We're looking at how COVID has influenced our clothing choices. Do you know what I mean? And being serious about it, it has. A lot of us have bought fewer clothes, have been wearing the same things more, which are the kind of things that we need to be doing to kind of manage those environmental impacts. So
you know what, 2020, I've hardly seen a waistband and I've hardly seen a bra, but I don't think I'm alone in that. Yeah. And let's face it, that's one of the things I do not want to go back to, but there we go. That's probably enough. Too much. That's in the subject. Too much information. Thank you both. It's been really good today. We'll let people know what future conversations coming up.
Yeah, and nice one. All right. Thanks again, Elliot. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.